We are live. Thank you. Welcome to the virtual holiday TSC Talks Holiday Market. We are live at the market with our weekly update and our discussion of CBD products. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm here with my partners, Lisa Larson and Chris Nichols, and they've been just instrumental in helping and coordinating this market. We work as a team and it's been really wonderful. And people are joining right now. They're joining our discussion. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody that's joining. I'm going to put you on mute until we get to the point where we're going to open it up and answer questions and whatnot. So, yeah, thanks for joining. We're here to talk about and educate on CBD. And again, I said my name's Jill and I'm the host. And we have Lisa Larson and Chris Nichols, who are also hosting. You guys want to say hi?
Hello. Nope, Chris is quiet. Okay.
All right. Well, so let's get started. So we just want to update you. We've had a wonderful time on the market. We've had a number of guests, ranging from people that have created their own products, their soap, handmade soaps, to fire starters with hemp products, to people educating on different aspects on cannabis for autism, cannabis for seniors, and let's see, what else have we had on? My daughter came on and talked about her artwork, and we have another doctor that we're going to run her reel tomorrow, Dr. Mary Clifton. So I just want to thank all of our participants in the market so much. We haven't run a podcast recently because we've been busy with this, but we will have a podcast, and our next guest up is Mike Robinson, who is our partner on forest bathing topicals, and we will be talking about that a little bit. So hi, Mike, and thanks for all you do. All right, so we came up with an outline, and we're going to run through some various aspects of CBD. And I'm going to ask Lisa to answer the first few questions that we have. And why is CBD popular?
So I'm going to start by saying I hate talking on video. Chris and Jill know this, and Jamie knows this. But anyway, CBD is one of the many cannabinoids found in cannabis. And it's become very popular, as most people know. You can buy it pretty much anywhere, including gas stations. And we would strongly suggest that you do not buy CBD at a gas station or at a convenience store or anywhere else. It's not regulated. And if you're not getting it from a legitimate source, you have no idea what you're getting. So CBD alone does many things. Personally, helps me with anxiety, which obviously I probably should have taken a little bit more before the live, but I don't find that it helps me all that much with pain, but I do know that it does help some people with pain. It is, I think, Jill, help me, an anti-inflammatory?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, CBD. And, I think we threw that out there. Just kind of, we started in a weird place with CBD and not giving this talk about, I was thinking like explaining the endocannabinoid system and, it being one of many of the cannabinoids, which we're going to get into. But yeah, it's amazing because it works on so many different types of ailments. And
another common use for CBD, actually, and it's one of the very few reasons it's been approved for a pharmaceutical, is to control seizures.
Right.
Epidiolex is the pharmaceutical brand of CBD, and
right, and that's only available for certain conditions right now. So you have to either have a certain diagnosis or, I'm not sure quite where they are at with that, but I know there's some very rare conditions that it can be used for. But I think as time passes, they'll approve it for more and more diseases and conditions. So, hi, everybody who's joining. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to put you on mute. No offense, just until we get to the question and answer part at the end of our discussion. So we're kind of just giving the basics on CBD. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so CBD is part of the cannabis plant, right?
Mhm.
Where were we?
Yep, one of the many cannabinoids.
Right. It's been, the focus of a lot of medical research, popular media, legislation related to cannabis, and it's non-psychoactive. So though some people do get a mild psychoactive effect, for all of you out there, I'm sure you've heard of THC and CBD, the two most well-known cannabinoids. So THC is the psychoactive component and the one that, gets you high. I find it personally important to not bash CBD because it's got amazing medical properties, and it helps you really explore your consciousness. Personally, I think at certain times I wanted to name the podcast THC Talks, because through the purposeful use of THC, I was able to explore various aspects of my consciousness and bring forth these issues and topics that we discuss on the podcast that I feel like are important to give some airtime to. So THC also has amazing medical properties. I'm going to read them to you because I am a little nervous for some reason, and
It's from me.
I gotta find my notes. So we could probably rattle this off if we weren't right on the live here. But because we're live, I'm gonna fumble with my notes. It's the most popular, I'd say, due to the high levels found in the plant, because the psychoactive euphoria. It's successful. It helps you with pain, nausea, sleep disorders, anxiety, appetite, neuroprotectant, meaning it protects neural pathways in the brain and nervous system, making it effective in treating neurodegenerative disorders. And again, we talked about the high. I know there's studies on, its effectiveness in cancer. I know a lot of cancer patients will use it along with their chemotherapy. And our partner friend, Mike Robinson, has used a combination of cannabinoids to treat his cancer. So I'm not going to say it was specifically THC, but it definitely does have some promising hope that we'll use more of it in medicinal ways. And, we talked a lot on the podcast about getting high and the ups and downs, and how you can get high without THC. But not to be afraid of it. If you're, exploring that, to be safe and to start low and go slow. So I think there's over 100 cannabinoids. I've heard as many as 400, and it's the cannabinoids, terpenes, and the flavonoids that make up the medicinal components of the plant. I'm just going to go back to my notes before I turn this over to someone else. Yes, bear with me while I find my 6 pages of notes that I printed off right before we started. Okay. Chris, do you have, I was just going to briefly touch on the terpenes and the flavonoids, and I'm finding oh my God. Okay. So the cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, they're found in the cannabis plants. The organic, they've been used for thousands of years, treating insomnia, pain, inflammation, and even more serious conditions, cancer, Alzheimer's. And they work beautifully in humans because they mimic our body's endocannabinoids, which are produced in the brain and in various tissues throughout the body. So we have an endocannabinoid system, which is a human physiological system that was discovered by Ralph, I'm not going to say his last name, from Israel. And fairly recently, it's been, I think it was, I don't know the exact date when it was discovered, but just finding out that we have this whole biological system composed of endocannabinoids, which are endogenous lipid-based retrograde neurotransmitters that bind to the cannabinoid receptors. And cannabinoid receptor proteins expressed throughout the vertebrate, central nervous system, and peripheral nervous system. So that is the scientific explanation, but the plant contains phytocannabinoid. So what you're going to hear about is when you're in a disease state or something, a stressor, because the endocannabinoid system contributes to homeostasis of all the body's organs. So it helps everything work together. So if you have something that affects one part of your body, one thing that's beautiful about cannabis is that if you have a deficiency, everything gets out of balance. And by taking these phytocannabinoids, when your body's deficient in its own cannabinoids, you can fill in and kind of improve either treat that symptom or, even cure that disease process or halt it. So it's pretty amazing. Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you now for, let's see. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you for the introduction.
You're welcome.
Well, what can we say about cannabis and CBD? As Jill was saying, we have this ECS system within us, the endocannabinoid system. And it's sort of a pity that most of the doctors in practice today probably got their licenses and had their education before the system was even found. So these days, a lot of what's going on in your immunity system, what goes on in the ECS system, there's a lot of practitioners who really don't know a lot about it because it was not part of their education. Some have caught up, some have become specialists in this area, but there's a lot who still think it's, well, if you want anything to do with marijuana, it's about getting high. In fact, what all of this, just like the digestive system is about digestion, and the circulatory system is about moving blood and other things around in your system, the purpose of the endocannabinoid system is regulatory. It's sort of the control center that controls all the other systems. And the fact is, some of us are born with a control that's stuck and produces too little or too much of something. And all of us, as we get older, find our sight is dimming, our hearing isn't quite as good, our skin is getting drier and needs to be moisturized daily. So likewise, if you take a look at what are the big health crises today and what are people talking about, it's I'm anxious, I can't sleep, I have chronic pain that never goes away. And a lot of this comes along with because the population is significantly older now than it was 50 years ago. And we're continuing to move towards being older. So whereas at the beginning of the last century, a lot of medicine was focused on things like vaccines and sanitation and how do we avoid getting sick so that we can live to be adults. Now a lot of medicine is focused on how, as most of us are adults, and soon most of us will be seniors, how do we live better lives that are pain-free, that are functional, even though we're older? And in fact, by previous standards, we should be largely dead by now. So we need to help our systems to cope with all this. And when cannabis was largely outlawed almost 100 years ago, the early AMA fought against it. So there's nothing we have that can replace this. And that's still the case today. So there's a lot of things you can think of from what we know now, and as we're able to break down cannabis into all these separate elements, that it's pretty much on the same level as taking a vitamin supplement. There may be something that your body is missing, and this can help you with. Most of the products that are coming out today aren't about getting high, but they're about trying to address a medical or a lifestyle issue, that you don't have the energy you used to, you're not able to function as well. And this is happening at all ages, but some people are born with disabilities, but if you live long enough, you will be disabled to one degree or another. And this is one of the things out there that seems to be able to help with this. And one of the things that's spoken about a lot these days was once CBD became the big thing, and it is right now the big thing, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. All of the marijuana industry, the legal marijuana industry, is going to be something like 70 or 80 billion dollars in another 10 years. So it's very big. Pharmaceutical companies are getting involved to fraction out the different things that are in CBD and in cannabis. And as Jill was saying earlier, a lot of the research started with THC and CBD because between the two of them, that's the majority of chemicals in a plant by weight. So if you're a researcher, you don't want to research something that there may only be a millionth of an ounce in it in a ton of marijuana. You want to go for something that's easily accessible, and that's what they've done. And now research is beginning to move on to other things like CBG. Do the terpenes in it work? And terpenes, just like that term turpentine, turpentine is made up of terpenes. It's sometimes these volatile chemicals are used to thin paint. Sometimes they are used as elements in perfume. And a lot of the terpenes that you will find within cannabis are the exact same chemicals you'll find in other plants, like limonene is the smell of lemons. It's in cannabis. It's in cannabis's close cousin, hops that are in beer. So citrusy elements in beer, in wine, in perfumes, they're all the same chemical that happens to be in cannabis. Cannabis is a real factory of interesting chemical compounds that seem to work well with human systems. So because there are so many chemicals in cannabis, one of the questions is if you just have CBD by itself, is that more effective or less effective than getting a cocktail of different cannabinoids? And since we know so little past the first 2 or 3 big cannabinoids, all that other 100, and as Jill was saying, some people are saying it's not just 100, it's many more chemicals that we didn't even know were in there because nobody was looking. So there's a thing called the Entourage Effect, that it seems to be true that when you take several items together, it makes it more powerful. So if you're taking CBD and CBG and something else, it may have a better effect for you, not just because you're taking more things, but they somehow interact together and support each other. But the other side of that is maybe you don't want all of the effects of cannabis. Maybe you're working and you have to be focused today and you don't want that giggly element that comes in when you have THC or something else that just doesn't work for you. Just like when you have a cold and you look for which cough syrup you want. If you want the cough syrup with certain suppressants, do you want the cough syrup that also takes care of aches and pains? Do you want the cough syrup that takes care of your sore throat? Or do you just want something for coughs? And the product that we've been working with Mike Robinson,
Who created it?
Yes. What he did is he's worked with big providers who fractioned out what is in cannabis, and he's focused on the things that he thinks are the most important for this type of a product, which is anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness, and several other very specific things, and something that you could take, if you're at any time. It's not going to affect your emotional status other than things like anxiety. So with that, why did I toss it back to Jill and Lisa to talk a little bit about forest bathing?
Sure. As you saw a minute ago, Lisa, can you hold it up? We have this product, and this is it's a topical roll-on, and it's a 1-to-1 CBD and CBG blend. Now, we were talking about the cannabinoids, and CBG is one that is starting to become more and more commonplace. I think it's, I wouldn't say it's quite mainstream. It's called cannabigerol. I can't pronounce it. Cannabigerolus. There hasn't been a ton of research, but the effects, let's see, relieves pain, anti-inflammatory, and very similar to CBD. It's got some, I believe, antimicrobial aspects of it. And there's just, as they do more research, there's more and more that's coming out about how amazing CBG is standalone and together with CBD. So in this formulation, there's CBD and CBG and terpenes. which we talked about, and they're the part of the cannabis plant that gives the aroma, and I think it protects the cannabis plant or attracts and protects in nature. So, and it's a topical, so it's a roll-on. It is absorbed 10 times more rapidly than other means of using cannabis, and there's many forms. You can do it orally, you can inhale it, you can, let's see, and topical, and edibles, which go like a piece of candy. That's a totally different effect. So again, with this topical roll-on that we've got created by Mike Robinson, and anybody who's watching and is interested, please note in the comments, or we will happily send you a sample and get your feedback on it. We think it's marvelous, and like I said, you can use it, and it gets into your system, so you can put it on your pressure points, like the insides of your wrists, the back of your neck, and you'll get more of a systemic effect. But if you happen to have some area of pain, like I have sciatica in my back, and I will take it and rub it right on that back area, and I definitely get pretty immediate relief. And you can reapply it. And the other benefit of a topical is it's not going to interact with pharmaceuticals, because it's not going through your gastrointestinal system. So for somebody that's on a lot of pharmaceuticals and is worried about that interaction, because that does happen, certain medications, I believe it's CYP450, that pathway, grapefruit, if you are told that you're not supposed to consume grapefruit with your medications, then you might want to consider looking more into the interactions with CBD and medications. But with this topical, you don't need to worry about that. So that's another benefit of a topical. It seems weird that a topical would be so beneficial, but Lisa, I know you've had some relief with.
Yeah, I have really bad arthritis in my hands, and I've tried pretty much everything, and BioFreeze was about the best that was working, but it didn't really take care of the pain. And then I got this from Mike, the force bathing, and all I do is just put it on in that area, and the pain is gone. It's not, and I don't have to take Motrin, I don't have to take Tylenol, I don't have to take anything that I'm going to have maybe lasting effects from eventually. So, and I keep sleeping wrong, and I wake up and my back and my neck are like a mess. And so I've been putting this on constantly. And
That's
it does
funny.
help. Yeah.
Same thing. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm standing at my computer and I can barely move. I'm like, to get some on there. And it works fast. It's crazy good.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you have to say about forest bathing?
I think it's, I don't have any specific pains, though lately I seem to be getting tendinitis of the thumbs from typing too much. And it does help. But what I've seen is when I've gone to different people, we've tested, Mike Robinson, I think, did his own test over 200 people. We've been just casually testing people and saying, does it work for you? It doesn't. And I think what we've learned is for chronic pain, the pain you have all the time, and especially the pain where your doctor looks at you sideways and said, are you sure you have pain? Are you sure it hurts? Are you not just trying to get pills? That's the thing it works on the best. If somebody just stuck you in the leg with a knife, this is not what you need. You need an opioid that stops the pain and deadens it. This doesn't deaden pain. It's just when you are getting chronic pain and they've looked at your x-rays, they've looked everywhere else, like, I don't know why you're in pain, so I don't know what to do with you. That seems to fall in that category of something is stuck in your system, and pain receptors are just going off for no apparent reason. This seems to work very well with that. For people who've had chronic long-term pain, that's the thing that it seems to have the best effect with. But there's different pathways to pain, different reasons why it's happening, and not everything works for everybody. But I've talked to a lot of people who've used other CBD combinations, and a lot go, what do you say? Does it help? And you get, meh.
Yeah, not really sure.
I think it helps. It's kind of helping. But I've seen people use this, and literally, if it's going to work for you, it's going to work in under a minute. You just like the most common way we tell people is put on your wrist, because often it's like my neck hurts, but that's behind me, and am I spraying it? Am I spraying my hair, or what am I doing? You just put it on your wrist because there's a lot of blood vessels there, but you could put it on your collarbone. You could put it right where it hurts. You have to get undressed to put it right where it hurts. So acting very quickly and being able to apply it very easily, that does seem to be the way it works for most people. And I've spoken to people who've been carrying a lot of chronic pain, and they say, boom, it's gone. And that seems to be the way it works. But with a lot of other CBD, it sounds kind of silly, but if you were to go and Google this or take a look at YouTube, many years ago, when pharmacists used to actually mix powders and liquids to give you a formula, they knew a lot more about the chemical structure of the things they were giving you. Now a pharmacist, for the most part, opens a large bottle of pills to pour them into small bottles of pills. And it so happens that any medicine you take orally, when it goes through your digestive system, anything that's fat-based, and CBD is fat-based, has to go through your liver. And the purpose of your liver, or at least one of the major purposes, is to break down fats. So it breaks down about 95% of all the CBD that goes through you. You get the residual. So about 5% of what's in the bottle will actually get into your bloodstream. And in the old days with the pharmacists, when they knew there were different forms, if you have to have calcium, well, do I give you this form of calcium or that form? And some of it had to do with the cost of the elements they would be assembling and what you could afford. Some of it had to be how you were taking it would affect how much will actually get in your bloodstream. And they do a quick calculation to say how much of the ingredients you have to put in to see that you receive this much. So that's already been figured out a long time ago with all the pharmaceutical companies when they give you the pills. So the doctors know I give you this much, and that's how they get that much into your bloodstream. But if you're taking things orally, 95% is just destroyed and going through your guts. If you smoke marijuana, you get a very high concentration of it actually getting into your bloodstream because it goes directly from your lungs into your bloodstream. But orally, pills, things like that, you have to use a lot more. And for those people who are in chronic pain and who have to constantly use CBD in large quantities, to go back to Lisa and Epidiolex, the average cost of Epidiolex is $30,000 a year.
Granted, some of that's covered a lot by health. You can get health insurance coverage for it. So the cost, it's usually it's
will vary. But if you were to get the same amount of CBD over the counter, just at the typical prices these things cost, that would probably cost you $40,000 a year for the people who have to take those high levels who have epilepsy and very serious disorders. But the way Mike has mixed it, and it's going through the skin, you get about 95% of what's in the bottle, meaning that you'd have to use 10 times as much of if it was in gummies. Right. So that also helps to keep the cost down. And a lot of companies are now beginning to look at that again. How does it get into your system and how much do you actually get in your bloodstream? And until it gets in your bloodstream, you're not getting anything. Right. So this gets into how effective, how much you have to use and all of that.
Yeah, I think that pretty much gives anybody listening a good summary. I want to unmute our guests here, and Jamie and Paulette. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I'm going to unmute, and I'm going to, for some reason I can't, there. So either one of you have any questions? I know, Jamie, you're pretty familiar with forest bathing.
Yes, I am. I love it. It really does work very well, and I use it with I have Parkinson's, and I take it for effects that I'm getting from Parkinson's medicine. is helping me. This is helping me with that.
So it helps you counteract some of the side effects of the pharma.
That's
Yeah. And you used it for your plantar's fasciitis.
It's great, and it's working well with my restless leg too.
Oh, good. That's great.
So, but I didn't have it for a couple of days, and I found my bottle,
Oh, you found it. Good.
and it just is no comparison. I mean, it works great.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty
Jamie,
amazing
do you put
stuff.
it right on your legs for restless legs? Just out of curiosity.
Mhm.
Really? Interesting. Also have that.
So that's
to know.
interesting because you don't have to, I mean, you don't use it like systemically. You just put it so right on your legs where you're having the restless legs, and it works right like that.
Yep.
That's good.
I will be trying that.
Yeah, I think at this point we probably all should just be bathing in it.
Pretty
When you
much.
get over the age of 50. Yeah, I think probably everybody, I would say a lot of people have an endocannabinoid deficiency. It's just, we are just, our bodies, our systems just are hit. There's a lot of hits in our society between, you know, all the different, our diets, you know, not having time to exercise, not having time to, you know, to take care. So it helps on, you know, kind of like bring everything together in a lot of ways. I think that's what I mean. It's like a security blanket in some ways.
Well, I think there's the other side of this that I think, you know, all of these cannabis products are still in that category called alternative medicine.
Right.
Though it used to just be in the but for the, you know, go back 100 years and 3,000 years before that, it was just medicine. But if you look at almost all of the common medicines we use now, they're really toxic and they really have severe interactions with each other. And if you are somebody who has to take 4 or 5 or more drugs, you know, prescribed normal drugs, you have a pretty good chance of the medicines you're taking killing you. In hospitals, the number 4 reason for people passing away within a hospital is interaction between the drugs they normally take. Because in coming in the hospital, maybe they're going to replace a generic with something else, or one drug with another drug because they don't carry that, and it leads to a lot of deaths. It's like I think it's 200,000 people a year die because their drugs interact. And even if we go to some of the most common things we use, aspirin kills 4,000 people a year. Tylenol kills about 400 or 500. And these are the most common, heavily used items, you know, and they have negative effects. A lot of people aren't aware of what you had said, like grapefruit interacts. Leafy green vegetables can kill you because they have a lot of, if it's leafy and green, it has a lot of vitamin K. And vitamin K interferes with heart medications, most statins, and several other things.
Really
And
common.
it either increases or decreases the strength of these drugs, so that if you were slightly over medicating and maybe you're getting 1.5 times what you should have, or maybe you made a mistake, took one extra pill a day, but you then happen to have an enormous green salad, it might turn the power of that dosage up from 1.5 to 5 or 6 times as much. Before, when I talked about that system in your guts that destroys CBD, well, it turns vitamin K turns that system off or slows it down. So if the doctor has already figured out, well, you know, 90% of this drug is going to be consumed because of your liver, so you have the level of medication that you're given, now suddenly you're getting 100% of it. And it is a massive overdose. And people do die of that on a fairly regular basis. So again, it's all chemicals. It's all plants. They could all help you or hurt you, but almost everything you can see and touch and feel is a chemical.
And just to point out that, you know, we're not doctors, and but we're talking from our personal experience and the information that we've learned from being in the cannabis industry, which has been quite an experience because of the legal status for this amazing plant. And I think what Chris was talking about with the pharmaceuticals, I think it's important to consult with your doctor. And that can be hard because a lot of doctors are not that knowledgeable. So, I will post, there's certain places online that you can go and find information. And there's a lot of green nurses. There's starting to be more and more that will do a consult and will help guide you through the process of, starting cannabis or CBD, just CBD. But, overall, I mean, at a low dose, I don't think it's, going to throw off your medications. But I think that it's a good point that Chris raised, though, that we really do need to be aware of that. And I'm not sure, if that makes any sense, but just kind of going off of that.
Again, we definitely are not doctors. We're not giving any medical advice. But one of these days, if you take a look, if you are taking prescriptions and that piece of paper in with your prescription that opens up to the sides of a USA map and is, in paper, print small to be read. If you take a look, either you can find it on there or you can talk to your pharmacist or talk to your doctor and just ask, what's the LD50? And LD50 means 50% lethal dose.
Wow, so that's a good tip.
You need to take to have a 50% chance of dying. And every modern pharmaceutical must have its LD50 known. Because there are certain drugs where the difference between the dose you take and the dose that will kill you is really close.
Yikes.
Cannabis, like CBD, cannabis in general, there's never been a recorded medical incident of it ever killing anybody. And that means like in the last 4,000 years.
Unsurpassed safety profile.
Yeah, it's safer than kale. There are a couple of people who have died of kale, and probably because they tasted it. But it's a very safe set of chemicals because your body produces them. And it's not very toxic. Everything, I suppose, is toxic. Water is toxic in large enough quantities, and you're underneath it. But it's pretty safe compared to almost anything else. And there are probably things in your diet that would be at least as much concern to your doctor that you're eating that while you're taking certain pills. Again, leafy green vegetables, grapefruit, bananas have certain odd chemicals in them that can interact with certain exotic drugs. But more importantly, if you have that more than 5 pharmaceuticals, how are they interacting with each other? And anybody who has been on multiple pills has often had to go, I don't feel right, and your doctor switches something around because some combination we're getting there was adverse, if not toxic. So, it's something you should think about exploring, looking at, talk to your doctor. Green nurses are easy to get a hold of. They're like all over the internet in different places.
Yep. And if anyone needs some connections, let us know.
Yeah. They're a very good source, and they are part of the medical healthcare system. They're the ones who will probably wind up giving you your shots anyway. Right.
So it's a legitimate specialty, green nursing, and so they've had the curriculum that other nurses have had, and then they've delved into to understand how to guide patients while they use cannabis. So they're a great resource. And there are more and more doctors that are, putting their flag up to be cannabis doctors and to work with, with a patient where they're at. So, and the unfortunate thing is there's not a lot of health insurance coverage for cannabis. So it can be expensive I think that's something that holds a lot of people back. And CBD, to circle back, our forest bathing and these CBD products, if you find a good CBD product, And you want to check the testing. Whole plant, depending on what you're looking for, but whole plant is, if you can tell it's whole plant, that's a really good way to determine whether it's quality. The testing, let's see, I'm just thinking of the flow. So it's flower-based, lab tested, organic, whole plant.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, our forest bathing is tested, and you can scan the QR code on it, or the barcode, and get to our site to see the testing results and to get more product information. I put our site in the chat, which is thesourcecannabinoids.com. And you can, if you're interested, we will send you a sample. So put a note, get in touch with us on TSC Talks on Facebook, or you can put a comment in the video, or we're on Instagram. We're all over the place. So I'll even put my email in the chat notes. So, Chris, Lisa, anything to add?
No, I think we've got everything. I mean, obviously, we are big supporters of forest bathing therapy because we know it and we like the product. But we're, I think, just big advocates of CBD as a compound and alternative medicine as something that people should explore. When you take a look at what everybody talks about around the water cooler, assuming any of us will ever see a water cooler again in our lives, it is, everybody talks about, I had a bad night last night, I couldn't sleep, or I feel so anxious, or I'm not hearing a lot about life balance. I want to spend more time with my family. That one's disappeared completely.
That's true.
Let me out.
I think, yeah, that's more what it is. Let me out.
Yeah, but again, it's like I've said before that if you take a look at where we are today as a nation, where there seems to be doubt about voting and democracy, it was one of the toughest elections ever. We're in the middle of global warming. And if you happen to live in California, your state's on fire.
Yeah.
This may be the new normal.
I know, it's hard to even really fathom it right now.
Yeah.
So we're just going to focus on our CBD and cannabis medicine and alternative medicine, and I think it speaks to just the need for more communication between all aspects of health, whether it's, and you're usually going to be the one making those connections with the doctors or your whoever's guiding you for fitness or spirituality. You're the hub, because there is no hub out there right now. There's starting to be people that kind of have tuned in that you kind of want this holistic way to understand yourself, and you're even influencing your medical, the aspects of your physical being, with everything working together. So I'll shut up, and I think that we've probably gone on long enough, but anybody else have anything to add? Jamie, do you have any questions or anything further to Lisa?
Nope, I'm just going to say happy holidays. And Jill, you did an amazing job with the market. Chris, thank you for all your help. And thanks, Jill. You were amazing. I'm not kidding.
Well, it's been a journey, and I feel like we've learned a lot, and it's been teamwork all the way. So thanks for watching us. And again, if you have questions, I put some information in the notes, and I'll put them in the post from this. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Alrighty.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.